Cliffs has been my favorite. I mean, look at the view, look at the ambiance, which is sharing my experience managing anxiety. Anxiety comes in many forms. I'm going to share my experience, and I first want to state that I am not a mental health professional. So if you need mental health assistance and care, seek a professional. I'm just going to share my experience managing my condition, which I'm going to be talking to you about in the next few minutes. A couple of years ago, well, not exactly a couple, it was a lot of years ago when I was a teen. I'm about to hit 50 in 2 years. So when I was a teen, I was about 15 or 16 years old, I had this weird experience at home. I was just sitting there on the sofa, and suddenly I felt this rush in my heart. My heart started thumping, going fast. I started feeling dizzy. I was feeling like I was in a roller coaster. If you ever been to a roller coaster, you know that part when you reach the very, very top and then you suddenly drop. Then that was how I was feeling, and it felt awful. So there I was with my heart wanting to come out of my chest and choking and feeling this sensation of anguish and anxiety. Told her, she told me, well, maybe you're anxious about something. Maybe it was something you ate, but it wasn't something that I ate. I mean, it was very weird. So it went away. And the next day, when I was in school, it happened again. I was in a class, and the same sensation. I mean, I felt like I was falling out of the sky, and dizzy, and my heart was beating fast, thumping, wanting to come out of my chest. It was really awful. So I excused myself, asked the teacher to let me go to the bathroom. And what I actually did was that I didn't go to the bathroom. I just went home. I just skipped school and went home, and walked all the way home. And I'm feeling awful, because I didn't know what was happening to me. So this situation happened a few more times. One day I was talking to my pastor, and my pastor told me, you know what, Mike, you seem to be going through a depression. I mean, I've seen quite a few of those. I'd recommend you go to a mental health professional. That was the best advice that I have received in my life ever. Coming from a pastor, he prayed for me, but he knew that there's also this medical science that can help you, and he even took me himself to a mental health facility where I was received, and they made me fill out a questionnaire, and they found out that I was depressed. I had depression. At that moment, I was going through some situation with a brother of mine who got into drugs, and that really made me very upset. That was part of what was happening to me in my life. And being a teen, I mean, the teen years are the hardest in life because you are experimenting things for the first time in your life. And me experimenting that for the first time in my life and having a depression, I didn't know what I was having. So it was very hard for me, but the doctor told me that I was too young to be put on antidepressants. But about the anxiety, that he could do something. He would give me some pills to manage the anxiety, and he recommended me that I do physical exercise and stuff, because that was a good way to manage it, because I was too young to be taking meds. Well, I did that. And the pills worked for a time. He told me to take them before I went to bed. And, fast forward I got into the university. That's where I met my wife, and fast forward, we got married. I was still having these sensations every now and then, and every now and then, and where my heart would want to go out of my chest. I usually, and that helped me manage it. But then I got married. I had less time to be doing exercise and stuff, and I became a professional. I'm a teacher, and one day I was in the classroom and I had this very bad attack. It was awful. I felt dizzy again. I had those quite often, but at this time it was horrible. I mean, I did my best not to show to the students, because I teach elementary school, not to show them that I was going through this situation. So when the class ended, I closed the classroom. I asked the principal, I need to be excused. And I went directly to a doctor who referred me to a psychiatrist again. It was like the second time I went to a psychiatrist. And he diagnosed me. And at that moment, I did not have depression. But he told me, it looks like you have something that is known as generalized anxiety disorder. And that was a diagnostic that he gave me. And he explained to me, anxiety is something that comes and goes, and it can be something that comes depending on situations. But there are some people like you who might get anxiety just because you have a chemical imbalance, and it is a condition that you'll have to learn to live with. So when he told me that, he said to me, I'm going to prescribe you some pills. Those pills are anti-anxiety pills, because my anxiety, these panic attacks, that's what I learned the name. That's when I learned the name for what I was going through. These panic attacks were becoming more often, more recurrent, and I mean it was making my life miserable. Sometimes I couldn't sleep, and it was horrible. So he prescribed me some anti-anxiety medications and some and some medication for the long term, because that's how psychiatrists work. And he told me, I'm going to be very clear with you, Mike. You cannot depend on these pills to manage your condition. You have a condition that is like diabetes or any other an inherited condition. Well, anxiety can be something that you can. The propensity to be anxious is something that can be inherited. But he told me, this is something you're going to have to learn to manage. You're going to have pills for a while, but I'm going to take you off the pills, and you have to learn to manage the condition, because otherwise you're going to be taking pills for the rest of your life. And I hate pills. I got to be honest with you. I hate pills. So I knew then that he was truly going to help me, and he also told me that I needed to see a psychologist. Psychiatrists and psychologists are not the same. Psychiatrists mostly deal with the chemical thing of depression, anxiety, and stuff. Psychologists deal more with the emotional part, and they do what is called like speech therapy or talk therapy. I highly recommend it. So I started on my meds and was doing my recommendations from the doctors, and it went well. But I started reading, I started studying. After I got out of the meds, well, the panic attacks or anxiety attacks came back. Some days they came stronger than on other days. Some days they lasted longer than on other days, and it was horrible. But since I do not like pills, I hate pills, I did not want to go to the doctor. But I was studying and looking for ways to cope with it. I tried natural medicine, herbal medicine, diet. I learned that you have to cut back on caffeine and some sugars. That helps. So diet is an important part of managing anxiety. And Also, I learned a couple of techniques which I'm going to be sharing with you, especially for managing a panic attack. When a panic attack strikes, they come out of the blue. They don't give any prior warning. You're just there, and suddenly you feel like you're falling off a cliff or going down in a roller coaster. It's an awful sensation, and it's terrible when you feel like that. So, in the years that I was studying and looking for ways to cope with my condition, which is a generalized anxiety disorder, I learned a couple of things that I can do to manage my anxiety attacks. If your condition is temporary, well, that's going to be determined by your doctor. I will tell you, go seek professional help. Don't try to auto-medicate. That's a very bad decision. If you auto-medicate, it can backfire or make your condition worse. Always seek professional help. When by reading and studying and practicing, I learned a couple of things to do when a panic attack strikes. I have them every now and then, but I've learned to live with the condition and manage them. And sometimes people around me barely even notice. I do remember a person that a relative of mine who had one, and we all noticed. I mean, her eyes became wide open. She started hyperventilating, and she felt like scared. And I knew, okay, she's having a panic attack. Let me help her. This tends to run into families. So I helped her with what I knew and what I'm going to be sharing with you. So the first thing when a panic attack comes is that you start hyperventilating. Your heart starts racing. You feel like in this situation, you feel like you're in a grave danger situation. You feel like if you had a bear in front of you that's going to kill you, or if you had a gun to your head, you're feeling like you're in grave danger, except that you're not in grave danger. You might be sitting on your living room or in your work at the desk or walking or driving. Those are the worst kind of panic attacks when you're driving. I mean, if you ever get one of those while driving, I had one once. It was horrible. I moved my car and to the side of the road and waited until it passed. Don't drive with a panic attack. You can have an accident, and it will be truly horrible. So when the panic attack strikes, the first thing you're gonna feel is like you're losing control, like you're going crazy or something like that, and you start hyper ventilating. Well, the first thing you need to do when you have one of those panic attacks is to control your breathing. And this is the most important part. If you control your breathing, you can manage the anxiety. I learned some breathing techniques, like box breathing and other techniques. My favorite one is the 4-7-8 breathing. If you want to learn breathing techniques, I suggest you enrolling yoga classes or meditation classes. If you can't, there are various apps that you can download that can teach you techniques to manage your breathing. I mean, learning how to breathe. We all breathe, but if you learn how to breathe properly, this will really change your life. There's an app called Headspace. You can download it. They also have a channel on Netflix, a series on Netflix, and a YouTube channel. They teach you breathing techniques. There are other apps like Calm. There's that app called Calm. I haven't tried that one yet. They say it's pretty good. My favorite one is Insight Timer, which has guided meditations and breathing exercises. I mean, whichever one works for you, choose the one that best works for you, and have a breathing technique. In my case, I use the 4-7-8 breathing technique. It has worked for me. It basically is you breathe in, counting to 4. Then you hold your breath for 7, counting to 7. And then you let out your breath slowly, counting to up to 8. So that's why it's called the 4-7-8. And you do that when the panic attack starts. You start doing that, and it's going to help you control your breathing, which is the most important thing to do during a panic attack. If you control your breathing, you control your anxiety, and you really learn that breathing correctly is going to help you in other things in your life. The other thing that I do when I receive one of these panic attacks is remind myself, and I talk to myself. Talking to yourself is not bad. It's not mean you're losing your mind or anything like that. I talk to myself and I repeat to myself, I'm not gonna die. Because the feeling that you get when you have a panic attack is like you're dying. And sometimes there are many people, I went to the emergency room a couple of times when I had panic attacks, because panic attacks sometimes tend to mimic the symptoms of a heart attack. I had a heart attack. And at the moment that I had it, I was not aware. I thought that I was having another panic attack, only that this time symptoms were different. So never ignore pains, and if you need to go to the ER, go to the ER. So never ignore them. But remember, repeat to yourself, I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna die. This is not gonna kill me. A panic attack will not kill you. So be sure of that. You're gonna feel like you're dying, but it will not. That's the second thing that I do when I'm having a panic attack. I repeat myself that. The other thing that I do is, in my case, I've learned that panic attacks have an expiration, not an expiration date, a time limit. Panic attacks do not last forever. It depends on the person. I've had panic attacks that may last from 7 minutes to 14 minutes. The worst one that I had that lasted longer than that lasted a couple more than 21 minutes. So I know that it's gonna be that the panic attack is gonna be making me feel bad, but it is going to be over at some moment. You might, sometimes I do that, but I wouldn't recommend it if it causes you more anxiety, if you're gonna be looking at the watch. But I look at my watch and I say, okay, it's gonna be 7 to 14 minutes of this. So let's see. So I do that, and it helps me knowing that it's gonna be over at some moment. So it's not gonna last forever. It's like I sometimes compare panic attacks to a turbulence in a plane. If you ever been to a plane, when you see that the pilot puts the seatbelt signs on, and this things are gonna start getting shaky here, and you know that the pilots do that because they know before it happens that a turbulence is coming their way, because they receive that information from the control towers and other planes. And one day I remember I asked a pilot. I asked him, "Sir, do you?" When I was in the airport about to take the plane, and I asked the pilot, "Sir, do you guys get used to turbulences? Do you get because way in my seat back there, well, we feel it. It feels horrible, the shaking and the wobbling and the up and down and the vacuums and stuff. But for you guys, this must be like a daily. You must have these turbulences daily, and so I guess you get used to it, right? Like, here comes another turbulence. Okay, it's everything's shaking, but you get used to it. And he told me, no, we never get used to it. Turbulences are very uncomfortable to us, but we have to go through them. Otherwise, the flight will get longer. If you try to avoid a turbulence, they can do that. They can go around it. But the flight is gonna take longer for the people to arrive. So sometimes it is better to go through it and you know that you're gonna go through it, but it's gonna be over soon. So that's how I compare panic attacks to. I compare them to a turbulence. So that's why I repeat to myself, it'll be over soon. It will be over, and that really helps me cope with the panic attack. And the last thing that I do, that I learned through the years to have and to manage a panic attack, is to have a mantra. If you never heard that word, I don't know if you ever seen a Buddhist monk doing their meditations. They do these sounds like om, om. If you've seen them in yoga, if you ever get into a yoga class, it'll help you learn. Well, a mantra is it's a word that brings you peace. It's a word that you choose. It's a word that when you repeat it, it works for you. So each mantra is individual. So for some people, a mantra might be like water. There's this person that repeats water, 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 because water, and she's picturing a lake on her mind, and that's what calms her. That's what this mantra does for her. So for others might be a sound like om, so if you got to find your word, your mantra that is going to be that'll work for you, and choose it, and that's going to be your word to help you focus and feel peace. In my case, my personal mantra is repeating the number 95. And when I teach people about mantras, they say, why the number 95? I mean, it's a number, it's impersonal. You cannot get an image of that unless you're thinking about 95 clouds or something like that. No, I use the number 95 because I read about, in my years learning about anxiety and how to manage it, I read one of the best books on anxiety that there is. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It was written by Susan Jeffers. So Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway is a book about anxiety and other unpleasant emotions. And basically the book tells you that you're not gonna stop ever having feelings or emotions. So you gotta acknowledge them and not feel like getting rid of them, because you'll never get rid of them. The mind approximately produces like 60,000 thoughts per day. So think about that. There are 60,000 thoughts crossing your mind every day. So that's a lot of thoughts per hour. And one thing that Susan Jeffers says in her book is that 90% of the stuff that we imagine, 90% of the things that we picture in our minds never happen. Even if they're good or bad, they never happen. So with that in mind, when you're having a panic attack, what comes to mind are images of doom, death. You feel like you're gonna die, or you feel anxious. And whenever I start feeling like that, I start repeating the number 95, 95, 95. And it helps me because I know the thoughts are going to be there. There's this thought, this is going to happen, or it's going to happen that, or that is going to happen like that, or this bad thing is going to happen. Okay, I just acknowledge them. You have to learn to monitor your thoughts. And when I see that my thoughts are going in that direction, because sometimes anxiety can be caused by overthinking. So that's when I repeat my mantra, 95, 95, 95. And that's in my case, in your case, it'd be other word. Find your mantra, it'll help you during a panic attack and before it. So know that these 4 techniques that you can use to manage a panic attack can be used during a panic attack, but they are better used if you do them before or you practice them during the day. You know, breathing techniques, you can practice them so that your body gets used to them, and you're gonna be ready for when you start seeing that you're losing you start hyperventilating and you see you're breathing too fast or shallow breathing. That helps you. And the same with the with knowing that you know that time will take care of the situation, that everything will pass. And with the mantra, so especially the mantra, I'm constantly repeating myself the mantra during the day, especially at work, when I start feeling, oh my God, this is not gonna get the way that I thought it was going. This, you know, whenever I start feeling negative thoughts, I start repeating my mantra, and it works and it helps. So just to recap and close and finish this, you know, panic attacks are a symptom. Always seek professional mental health. A panic attack, well, the first one would be control your breathing. The second one would be repeating yourself that this is not going to kill you. You're not going to die of this. The third one is knowing that panic attacks have a time limit. They will not last forever. Although at the moment you're going to feel like every second is like an hour, but it will end. And to have a mantra, you know. So those are the 4 things that I do to manage my panic attacks. If you really like this, okay, you can share it. You can always find me here at the Crescent Cliffs. Sometimes I'm in the public rooms. Sometimes I come here private. You can find me on Rec Room at Broken Clock Mike. Let me show you my profile. If you want to look me up on the Rec Room, that's not it. It's here. That's my profile, and that's my name, Broken Clock Mike. You can find me like that and send me a friend request. I'll be more than glad. And if you need to talk, I'll be here for you, and if I have the time. So remember, anxiety is a manageable condition. It is not the end, and you can learn to live with it, but always seek professional mental health. And I am not a mental health professional. I'm a teacher. I'm a person who has learned to live with a condition, and I'm sharing this to help others the way I was helped when I was learning this. Well, have a nice evening or night or morning, whichever time you're looking at this on YouTube. If you like it, you can share it. Thank you, and bye-bye.